What's good, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, and yeah, I got another part to what if Naruto had the Blacklight virus. Now, I shouldn't really get too ahead of this, because, I gotta work on some other stuff, like, school starting back up, like, literally next week for me, so my time schedule's gonna be even more stretched the fuck out, so, yeah. Anyway, with all that being said, let's just get on into the video. Now, it's been a few years after the Kyuubi attack Konoha. Damage is still being prepared, mostly. There are still some areas that are closed off to the public because of the Kyuubi's poisonous chakra having contaminated the area. And it wasn't difficult trying to locate signs stating that the area was unsafe for human beings. A more physical sign was a dozen of dead trees dotting the contaminated area. There were even what happened to be a charged skeletons around the area as well. So the place was just corroded pretty much at this point. They were now almost entirely unrecognizable. But the village itself was thankfully left untouched by the toxic energy. Only to be surrounding forests were affected, pretty much. And the populace wasn't so lucky, unfortunately. Expecting mothers were horrified to say that their child were born with multitudes of defects or just straight outright stillborn. Young children suffer from also debilitating conditions like chronic arthritis, scoliosis, and their immune systems were crippled from the fox's chakra permeating through the development bodies of young kids and stuff, rendering them far from vulnerable to disease and infections and stuff. And the amount of villagers and shinobi killed in the initial attack paled in comparison to the death toll not a few months later. Nearly 25% of the civilians' population either died or left permanently disabled, and 5% of the shinobi were left permanently disabled. It was the singular worst tragedy to strike the village since its founding, combined a spike of suicides and nearly 7% of over 50,000 people living in Konoha died in the following year. Now, in a calming effect, or in a way to try to calm down people, Hiruzen Sarutobi spoke to the entire village in a monumental speech stating that the fact that Konoha still stood was a testimony to the strength of the village as a whole, and eventually life returned at least a center balance of normal, somewhat normal. And then the information about the Kyuubi's true fate was leaked to the public. The leaker was never found. However, a man presumed to be the leaker was found dead in his apartment within the wealthy district of Konoha, with a suicide note beside him, making mentions, of a demon child, and how people of Konoha needed to band together and eliminate the Kyuubi once and for all by killing its reincarnation, Naruto Uzumaki. However, fear overruled the civilians' fury, and people were far too afraid to attack Naruto. A few brave individuals would attempt to take his life, but would mysteriously disappear. No one would be found, just a whole lot of blood and roughly mangled bodies, or bodies pretty much drained out of blood, or just completely gone entirely. These disappearances stained heavily of foul play, but no suspect were ever found. Now we cut to Naruto, who was 4.5 years old. Naruto was never truly happy. or he never had happiness or even knew happiness, not in his short life. Almost everyone in the village hated him, and those who became violent, he ate them. He didn't know how to describe it. He would somehow shove his tiny arms through their chest and merely making contact with them. And then, y'all know how Alex Mercer somewhat eats people, tendrils would emerge from the point of contact, penetrate the skin, and begin to break down the cells that make up the human body until they were reduced to simple organic molecules. And the tendrils, now fattened, would return to his body. He would feel strangely satisfied, and then came with the memories that weren't his, memories that belonged to the people he killed. And that's how he was so intelligent, how he managed to avoid any further attempts of his life. And he gained a complete understanding of human psychology as well. He could predict a person's action and thoughts very easily. He had first killed about a half a year ago. His body count numbers somewhere in the 30s by now, and he knew why he was hated so much. Apparently, he was the Kyuubi reincarnate, the fox that had attacked the village that day he was born. He knew that wasn't true, but he had a theory to how he was connected to the fox. He was his Jinjuriki, a human sacrifice, you could say. That Kyuubi was sealed in his body, his very soul, by the former leader of the village, Minato Namikaze. Just thinking of the man is enough to spark horrid rage within himself, a desire to destroy, to kill, and it scared him. What if he lost control? He didn't care much about human life, of how much they have treated him, but he killed them because they were a threat. Could he kill an innocent human in cold blood? He already knew the answer to that question. Yes, and it was as horrifying as a thought as it was attractive. He knew that with the more people killed and consumed, the stronger he became, the more challenging he became. But he did more than just kill. But did he do more than kill? Yeah, he did more than just consume the body, the very soul of the prey as well. He had a glimpse of this when he discovered the odd ability to see souls of the living and the spirits of the dead. Ah, yes, another ability afforded to him. He postulated it due to his status as a border being, something not quite alive nor dead. He had glimpsed the man's soul, a bright blue light with a pinprick of darkness in its core. He witnessed how what he believed to be his own soul, entirely black, had reached out and absorbed the man's soul and opened up a newly can of worms. What had happened to his soul? Was it twisted by the presence of the Kyuubi, or was it changed by its very nature of his body? He didn't really have an answer. He wasn't really sure if he had one. At least, people were too afraid to attack me. At least right now, Naruto would think to himself. It was annoying how they never seemed to learn to leave me alone. He gained a small apartment, graciously given to him by Hiruzen Sarutobi. He never knew why the old man was so kind to him. Was it a ruse, an attempt to get him to trust him, so he may have access to his nigh infinite strength of the Kyuubi? He hoped not. The old man was frankly the only reason he didn't outright leave the village entirely. If he was deceiving him, he feared for the old man. He idly glanced around his surroundings. The apartment was run down, paint flaking off the walls. Occasional a cockroach or some other vermin would make itself known. They were good snacks. They was a little kitchen area off to the corner, a stove, refrigerator, and some cupboards. All seen better days, what with rust, grime, and overall disrepair they were all in. It wasn't like he needed or used them, though. He never got hungry or physically tired. He didn't need to breathe he need to require warmth. His skin was cold to the touch and sometimes very pale, almost a corpse. It helped intimidate potential threats. He idly ran a hand through his hair, knocking a few blonde strands in front of his eyes. He headed towards the bathroom, then pushed the door open. The knob was missing entirely. He stepped in, looked himself in the mirror, blue eyes and all, staring back at him, devoid of recognizable emotion. He did feel, just not the same way a human would. The processes behind emotion were like night and day in that respect. He wore a simple white hoodie jacket adjusted for him at a young age, as well as a black bubble vest. Basically, it's the beta Alex Mercer design, with his lower tire being black jeans, as well as simple black urban hoofers. He turned back, facing the mirror. His head was oriented towards the mirror. A strange symbol decorated the space of his jacket, spreading from shoulder to shoulder. It was a pair of vaguely wings-like shapes that glowed a mysterious red. Having admired himself long enough, he stepped out of the bathroom and had a meeting with the Hokage today. The old man tried so hard to get on his good side, or try to keep him innocent when he was a kid, to preserve his childhood, which didn't work, obviously, but at least the old man tried. That was helpful, a lot better than what most people he knew. So he moved towards the door and led to the hallway and eventually descended towards the stairs. He lived on the top floor, center room. The entire complex was abandoned ever since he moved in. Its former residents all signed out once they found out that they were sharing living spaces with the demon child. Naruto often, fantasized about hanging them with their own intestines still showing. I know that's a bit gruesome, but that's Naruto's personality. He exited his apartment building and immediately headed towards a manhole he opened up. So he dropped in the manhole and summoned a few tendrils to close the manhole. The sewer was like a second home to him. No one ever dared to come down here. The smell was nauseating enough as it is, and it was too easy to slip and take an unwilling bath in about a few feet of human waste, and it was dark. There was no artificial lighting, leaving the tunnels practically pitch black. The smell didn't affect him in the least, and he's seen beyond the spectrum of visible light. He felt the structure of his eyes change, and the darkness soon replaced by a vision of blue and red, infrared. He thrived in the environments like this, where his prey had no hope of seeing him coming. A few red blobs darted in and out of sight in the distance. Rats. It took less than 5 minutes to get to his destination. So he climbed a ladder, lifted the manhole cover, and crawled out. And he replaced the manhole. He could see the Hokage Tower now. He had a preferred method of entry. So we go to the Hokage office. Hiruzen Sarutobi was currently battling his most tedious foe. Something more powerful than all the Biju combined. Something more intelligent than the entire Nara clan. Something more resilient than all the mountains in the world. This Ikenchi foe's name was Paperwork. He signed and stamped at blistering pace. Or at a blistering pace. Little more than a blur to an average human's eye. Yet, no matter how much he tried, no matter how much he kept fighting it and kept going and going and going, no matter how long he stood at it, the stack grew and grew in size. He wouldn't last much longer. And then an idea came to his mind. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 4 identical copies of the Sandane pulled into the existence of a cloud of white smoke. Together they would defeat this enemy of all the Kages. In least in a few minutes, all the paperwork was vanished, the clones disappeared, and Hiruzen raised his hand to his forehead momentarily, in an effort to help with the slight headache produced by the memory of feedback. And then he realized the horrid and dumbstruck expression. That more paperwork was on his desk. How? He shouted in his head. How had this damn paperwork sneak up on him? He was torn from misery by a sudden thud near the window. He immediately leaped to action, taking a taijutsu stance before the intruder could surprise him. He never noticed Naruto until it was too late. Boom. A girlish scream tore its way through Hiruzen's throat as he whirled behind him to see Naruto's stoic face as was there to greet him. He screamed again and proceeded to trip on his feet. His head roughly bounced off the hardwood floor. And Naruto's face made itself known again. He was kneeling over his fallen body. Are you alright, old man? Ow. Should I get a medic then? Ugh. Damn. How am I supposed to get used to that? And how am I supposed to get him up? Oh wait, there's a orange book he hides on his desk. Naruto picks up the strange book and reads the cover. Itchy Paradise. Co-ed loving? Curious overtook him as he opened the book and started reading it. He was not pleased with what he saw. Far from it. Who the hell reads this crap? It's just pure smut. Where's the story? Where's the romance? The drama? The tragedy? Wait, who the hell wrote this anyway? He turned the book around and glanced at it where the writer's name was. Jiraiya? At that, Hiruzen stirred. Naruto looked back at him. He had managed to get back on his feet, though he was now nursing a bump on the back of his head. He looked towards Naruto, and his face twisted into a rather comedic expression of anger. Naruto, how many times I have to tell you not to sneak up on me? The shot was powerful enough to shake the tower. Many secretaries, and Chunin were convinced that an earthquake just happened. Naruto ideally struck a pinky to his finger, wiggling it around. Eventually got back to it after wiping it on his jacket. Let's see, today around 468 times. Now that's just a random number. Maybe even 500. 700? 1,000? I lost count at like maybe 500. I didn't mean it literally. You know how bad I am with sayings. That's not the point. Yeah. Besides, it's funny seeing such a great and powerful shinobi scream like a prepubescent high school girl. Hiruzen got mad again. Anyway, I believe that you called me here. Hiruzen blinked, and then his anger died down. He sat down and put his fingers together, adopting a very serious expression on his face. Yes, I did, Naruto. I want to discuss the possibility of you joining shinobi forces. Naruto's eyebrow twitched once. Again with this? Would I be unfit for service with my psychopathy, violent tendencies, and overall low sanity? Hiruzen sighed again. Naruto, you're not insane. You're just troubled. And Naruto, he frowned at this statement. Yes, of course, because butchering and eating people only counts as trouble. Hiruzen adopted a sad expression, then had failed to keep Naruto as a child, and he failed at the AD. Here was a child the issues, with all the issues of a war veteran suffering from PTSD would have. That wasn't right. The guilt often kept him up at night. Naruto sighed. Oh man, I can't be fixed. You know that. And I don't blame you. I know you did your best. I know you tried. Even risked your position a few times. I can't even thank you enough for at least trying. I'll join. Hiruzen's eyes widened. What? Just like that? Naruto's eyes then narrowed. His faint glowing blue eyes rooted Hiruzen in place. On one condition. You tell me everything about my past. My parents, why everyone hates me, everything. Hiruzen's eyes widened ever further, resembling two sake saucers. Naruto, are you sure? I kept this secret from you so I could protect you, so I could prevent any more damage to you. The truth, it may very well scar you for life. He was obviously worried. He was willing to tell Naruto. Naruto's gaze hardened. How can I be scarred any further? I'm made of scars now. Hiruzen winced none at this statement. Alright, I'll tell you, but not now. Naruto's gained an expression of slight anger. When? Once you graduate. Naruto, calm down. Alright, I can deal with that. How long will the academy last? You'll be 16 when you graduate, assuming you don't fail. Okay, I'll wait till then. But you're going to tell me everything. Naruto turned his heel and walked towards the window, opening and leaping out of his apartment. Or towards his apartment. I'm getting too old for this shit. Alright, I'm going to end it right there. So, tell me what you guys think. Leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. And, yeah. I'm going to try to get as much time of these videos as possible. They might be a bit spacious. Like me getting in, like, maybe a week. A video a week, maybe 2, if possible. But, I'm going to do the best I can. And so, yeah. With that being said, I'm out. Peace.